Hi, my name is Margie Peeler, and I didn't realize it until recently, but I'm pretty sure Josie Campbell is a 70-year-old woman trapped in a 17-year-old's body. Not only does she knit, read, and listen to podcasts more than any human I know, but she also has wisdom far beyond her years. Josie is kind and so thoughtful and just a little bit weird, but I'm lucky enough to call this old soul my best friend. Josie can blow my mind with a simple comment as we pass one another in the hallway, so all I have to say is listen closely and brace yourself, because Josie has something incredible to say. She always does. Ladies and approximately 5 gentlemen, Josie Campbell.
My friends like to remind me that in a movie about high school, I would undoubtedly be cast as the nerd. I get excited about political podcasts and literary references. Way more of my weekends are spent in than out. And I will tell you unabashedly that what I love more than anything is school. And despite this, it didn't strike me as at all unusual when I decided last spring to try out for Memphis University School basketball cheerleading. I will admit that cheerleading is not totally in my comfort zone. In fact, this was somewhat intentional, as for the past 5 years, the overwhelming majority of my time has been spent extremely comfortably. From my very first day here, I have felt at home at St. Mary's. In these buildings, with these people, I've found my voice and then used it. I've chosen my story and then lived it. I have even built a rocket and then launched it. And when I leave this place in May, it will be with more gratitude than I am equipped to express. I did recognize, though, last spring, that I should probably branch out just a little before being thrown into the real world. So naturally, I went to MUS. Considering almost every book in English senior year can be described sufficiently as existential, I am convinced the reason we read the books we do is so that when, as seniors, we experience an inevitable existential crisis, we can at least be comforted with a label for the agonizing confusion that occurs the first time we really ask ourselves, why? And I realized this as I stood with pom-poms in my hands and a bow in my hair at the first basketball game of the season. It was not ideal timing. When I think of sports games at St. Mary's, there is one game in particular that I remember. It was at the beginning of this school year, and I showed up to a volleyball game earlier than usual. That week in the upper school, I had gone to the fireside chat about the national anthem and the debate surrounding some athletes' protest of it. And in that conversation, the overwhelming conclusion drawn was that whatever your choice regarding the anthem, whether you decide to sit or stand, it's the right choice. And when the music began at that volleyball game, and there was the customary collective shift towards the flag, I looked around me and saw every imaginable level of participation, and I felt an overwhelming sense of pride at the community that I was a part of. But standing on the court in my cheer uniform at that first basketball game at MUS, I was taken aback by how different the atmosphere was from what I am accustomed to. Of course, there was a strong sense of community, but I realized that the letters on my uniform might be the only reason that I was included in it. As the national anthem started to play, I thought about that volleyball game from months before, and I realized that the crowd in front of me looked different from the one in Wilmot. I wondered what would happen if in that moment I chose not to stand, and the conclusion I drew left me somewhat uncomfortable. The song ended, and as people clapped, I found myself thinking through the various imaginary scenarios in which I made some sort of statement. But then movement resumed on the court, and I ran to the sidelines with the other cheerleaders, and I was alarmed to discover that out of all of my different options, I had chosen to do nothing. I panicked at the thought that, like Camus' absurd hero in The Stranger, I too had opened myself to the gentle indifference of the world. There are people out there, people I know even, who if placed in my situation would have acted. People who would have taken advantage of the opportunity to do something, even if they thought it would fail, or that no one would care, or that the world was indifferent. They are the ones who aren't limited to their comfort zones, who fight precisely because they are uncomfortable. I admire those people, and I want to be them, and I'm disappointed in myself to discover in that moment I was not. And now I am here. I stand literally on a stage and metaphorically on a giant mess of an existential crisis, and the only conclusion I have come to is I don't know. I want to change the world, but I feel like I can't. And I also feel like to say that is to simply not try hard enough, and I don't want to give up. I want to try harder. I want to push all the boundaries and be a voice for those without one, and accept that it will be unavoidably uncomfortable. But I'm scared I'm a coward. I'm hopeful that tomorrow I won't be, or if not, then maybe the day after that. But I'm 17 and naive, and I don't know. I wonder if those movies about high school were onto something. That when one person tries so hard to embrace two stereotypes, chaos is the inevitable result. If all of this is just to say that I am the female equivalent of Troy Bolton, I look forward to the spectacular musical finale that must then accompany the conclusion of high school. But I have also heard from people older than me that this giant mess is just a part of being a human. And if they're right, I can at least take comfort in the knowledge that just like those East High Wildcats, we're all in this together. Thank you.